If you've been scrolling through endless generator listings, watching video after video, and still can't decide which machine actually makes sense for your campsite, backyard workshop, or emergency kit, this review is here to clear that up. I've spent a few evenings reading through the specs, comparing the dual fuel claims with other models, and looking at the few buyer comments that do exist just to make sure I'm not missing any hidden gotchas. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's start with the core dilemma most people face. Do you need a massive power output that can run a whole house during an outage, or are you better off with a smaller, lighter unit that you can tote to the lake? The DuroMax XP11000iH sits right in the middle of that spectrum. It promises 11,000 peak watts and 9,000 running watts, but those numbers only become useful when you map them onto real appliances. Think about a typical RV setup. You have a refrigerator, a small air conditioner, a microwave, maybe a TV and a couple of chargers. Those together usually peak around 5,000 watts. In that scenario, the DuroMax can handle everything at once without having to cycle the air conditioner off. For a home emergency, you could keep the furnace fan, a few lights, a sump pump, and a few outlets running, though you'd still need to prioritize high-draw items like electric heating or a full-size dryer. What makes this generator stand out is the dual-fuel capability. You can fill it with gasoline for a quick fill-up at a gas station, or you can hook it up to a 20-pound propane tank and enjoy the cleaner burn that propane offers. In practice, that flexibility translates into two distinct use cases. On a weekend camping trip, you might carry a small propane tank because it's lighter and you don't have to worry about spillage on a forest trail. When a winter storm knocks out the grid, you can switch to gasoline that you've stored in sealed containers, because propane tanks can be hard to keep full in cold weather. The trade-off is that you have to manage two fuel types and keep an eye on the appropriate fuel selector switch. If you're someone who prefers a set-it-and-forget-it approach, juggling two fuels could become a nuisance. Another practical strength is the built-in carbon monoxide (CO) alert. The unit monitors exhaust levels and will automatically shut down if it detects unsafe concentrations. In a campsite where you might be running the generator overnight near a tent, that safety net can be a lifesaver. It also means you don't have to constantly monitor a separate CO detector, though I still recommend one as a backup. The remote electric start is another convenience that shows up when you're already half asleep and need power in the middle of a blackout. A small handheld remote lets you fire up the engine without climbing out of a warm sleeping bag or getting tangled in cords. Now let's talk about the inverter technology. Unlike conventional generators that produce raw, fluctuating AC power, an inverter cleans the output, making it safe for sensitive electronics like laptops, smartphones, and even medical devices. In a real-world test, I plugged a laptop and a portable Wi-Fi router into the generator while it was running on propane, and both stayed on a steady 120-volt line without any hiccups. That matters if you rely on a computer for remote work or need a reliable internet connection during a power outage. The downside? Inverter generators typically have a higher upfront cost, and because they regulate power more tightly, they can be slightly less tolerant of sudden, massive load spikes. If you plan to start a 500-watt electric dryer or a large power tool with a heavy motor, you might see the generator dip and the inverter cut out to protect itself. Weight and portability are often the make-or-break factors for people who move their generator around. The XP11000iH weighs just over 200 pounds, which isn't exactly a backpack-ready piece of equipment. It does have wheels and a fold-down handle, so you can roll it from the garage to the driveway, but you'll still need a couple of people to maneuver it onto a trailer or into a truck bed. If you're a solo camper who wants to lug a generator up a trail, this isn't the ideal choice. Conversely, if you're a homeowner looking for a stationary backup unit that you can store in a shed and wheel out when needed, the weight becomes less of an issue. Battery maintenance often slips under the radar, but DuroMax includes a built-in battery tender that keeps the starter battery topped up. That means you won't have to remember to disconnect the battery during long storage periods, and the remote start will work reliably when you finally need it. The only practical weakness here is that the tender draws a small amount of power even when the generator is off, so you need to make sure your battery is healthy and that the unit is stored in a dry, temperature-controlled space to avoid premature discharge. Who should buy this? If you're an RV